Flameo Hotman, what story will Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender follow? There are some obvious storylines that will definitely be in it, and there are some not so obvious storylines that could be part of it as well. In today's video, let's talk about what we think we'll see in Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender Season 1 across the 8-hour-long episodes. The first obvious part is the core story, and we know that's going to be pretty much exactly the same as it was in the animation. Season 1 of Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender will start with Katara and Sokka finding Aang in the frozen sphere. He'll realise he's been frozen for 100 years and that the Fire Nation has waged war against the other tribes. Of course, the air nomads will have been wiped out, because otherwise Netflix couldn't call the show The Last Airbender without sticking to that story. Aang's mission through Season 1 will also be very similar to the animation. They'll be trying to get to the Northern Water Tribe so Aang can learn the next element he must master before eventually being able to face Fire Lord Ozai. Zuko and Iroh have both been cast, so no doubt Season 1 will see them hunting Aang through each episode. So that's the obvious part and perhaps unsurprising for you. We can use the casting to give us an idea of what other parts of the story will be covered in Season 1 of Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender as well. The first thing I wanted to talk about in terms of story is Katara and Sokka's mother. We know that they're going to be flashbacks because Rainbow Dickerson has been cast as Kaya, who is Katara and Sokka's mother, and it looks like she's going to be in episode 3 and 5. So I believe in episode 3 and 5 of season 1, we'll get to see flashbacks of Katara and Sokka's mother. Now, Joe Montgrand has been cast as Hakoda, who is Katara and Sokka's father, so I expect we'll see him in some of those flashbacks as well. We didn't really see him much in the animation in season 1, and we know Barto from the Water Tribe has not been cast in Netflix live action, which makes me think that we're only going to see Hakoda in the flashbacks in season 1, but we might well see him come in the future. Plus, I expect to see some kind of communications from him with his children in season 1. Additionally, we know Suki and other people from Kyoshi Island have also been cast, including a new character playing Suki's mother. That means the story in season 1 could definitely see Team Avatar end up on Kyoshi Island, or at the very least end up in an area of the Earth Kingdom very much centered around Kyoshi. No doubt there'll be some chemistry between Sokka and Suki. The actors actually cast aren't that far apart in age, so that could be some good casting there. Another interesting one that has been cast is Jet, so I expect that means we'll see the freedom fighters in the story as well for season 1, and that could also mean we get an episode set in the forest where the freedom fighters live. Now, I'm thinking we'll see the Kyoshi episode before we see this episode with Jet and the freedom fighters, just because in the animation that Kyoshi episode happened before the episode with Jet, and it kind of makes sense in the story based on where each of those locations are on the map. Another story we know is going to be included, because of the casting, are Teo and his father the Mechanist, which means the story will likely head to the Northern Air Temple. Now, if you remember the cool flying mechanics from the Northern Air Temple, I imagine there's going to be something similar in the live action, because we know Teo's going to be in a wheelchair in the live action as well. We know King Boomy has been cast, which of course means we've got to see Amashu. I'm actually really excited to see the cool delivery system of Amashu in the live action. It was done really well in the animation, and obviously Team Avatar had some fun moments there, so I'm really looking forward to seeing the cool visuals they'll use to recreate this. Next, let's talk about the past avatars, because it seems like a few of them are going to get a little bit more of the limelight. We know Kyoshi has been cast, so you can definitely expect to see Kyoshi. Personally, I have a feeling they're going to show the part of her story where she formed Kyoshi Island, so no doubt we'll get a flashback of Avatar Kyoshi. I also think we'll get to see her maybe communicating with Aang and giving him some advice. Avatar Kuruk has also been cast, as has Ko the Face Stealer. We know their stories are so closely intertwined, so I expect to hear a bit more of the history about Avatar Kuruk. In the animation, the story behind Kuruk was a little bit light, but from the rumours I'm hearing, Netflix are going to give Kuruk a little bit more screen time and try and expand his story a little bit more. Of course, Avatar Roku has also been cast, and interestingly, so has Fire Lord Sozin. So I expect that means we'll get to see Avatar Roku, which isn't surprising because he's the previous Avatar before Aang, and he's a very important spirit guide for Aang. But the fact that Sozin has also been cast, I think means we'll get to see a little bit more about how the 100 Years' War started, and I think we'll get to see a bit more around what happened in the story between Roku and Sozin, something that we didn't really see till later seasons in the animation. So I think this is another area in the story where Netflix live action remake might deviate very slightly and add just a little bit more content to the story around Roku and Sozin. The final part of the story in season 1 that I think we're likely to see, or that we're pretty much guaranteed to see, is around the Northern Water Tribe, and again this is due to the casting. We know that that there's going to be a fairly substantial cast for the Northern Water Tribe, and they've definitely covered the main characters in terms of Chief Arnuk, Yue, Yagoda, Paku, and Han. Also, we know Commander Zhao has been cast, so expect to see him trying to chase down the Avatar and eventually coming to blows with the Avatar and the rest of the Northern Water Tribe towards the end of season 1. Before we finish, there's a couple of other things in the story I want to talk about based on the casting. Firstly, Wang Shitong has been cast, and I think this could introduce a new story that we didn't see in the animation around Commander Zhao visiting the library of Wang Shitong. Because if you remember in the animation, we only heard verbally and we saw little snippets of it in later seasons of how Commander Zhao found the library and he used the scrolls in the library to find out where the moon spirit was, and that enabled him to do what he does towards the end of season 1. That was never actually shown in the animation as part of the story though, and I think that's something Netflix could perhaps show in some kind of flashback, or maybe even as part of season 1. I can't finish this video though without talking about the Cabbage Merchant, so of course he's going to be in it. Expect to hear his famous phrase in the series, and he's definitely going to be popping up more than once, which hopefully is a good sign because it means it's not just going to be all dark and moody as a series. It sounds like they will have some comedic moments in there, which is good because Avatar The Last Airbender, the animation at least, was funny. A few more of the cast that could influence the story are Ozai, Azula, Mei, and Ty Lee. Obviously in season 1 of the animation we didn't see much of these characters, but the live action looks like they'll include some story for these characters. That's more than likely going to be new storylines coming in Netflix live action, which we didn't see in the animation around these characters. And there you have it. So those are all the elements of the story that could play out through season 1 of Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender. Obviously a lot of this sounds like it's very much going to follow the original animation, but you can also see certain little snippets there where there's going to be some new story, perhaps some further exploration of characters which we perhaps didn't see in the original animation, or that we didn't see till later on, which could easily have been covered in season 1. It looks like Netflix are going to try and cover some of those deeper stories in season 1, which could definitely be a good thing if they get it right. The Last of Us might be a good example of a series that does this well. I haven't actually seen it myself, but that's just based on what I'm reading and reports. People seem to think they've done a good job adapting the story there. So if Avatar The Last Airbender can do something similar, we could be in for something truly amazing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.